Good morning. So today, me, Faith Herman, and my partner Mikayla Murphy will be giving a presentation on our research assignment, which we called a new kind of influencer. We're trying to figure out the effects that social media and social media influencers have on young women. So as many people know, young women struggle with body image and self-esteem and all that kind of stuff because they're young women. And that's not something that's new. That's something that's been around for a long time. And I think that is something that a lot of women have in common. And so we conducted research to figure out the effects that social media and social media influencers have on body image, self-esteem, and then if those two things affect whether or not a young woman develops an eating disorder. And so we will go more in depth to each of those things later and more in depth with our population and who we decided to research.
Our first subtopic is body image, and with every article we've found, it basically shows that we have a negative body image because of social influencers and the way that they're able to take Photoshop, which was done in a study by Clemens in 2018, where he showed that these social influencers use Photoshop to make their bodies look perfect when it's not really natural. And there was also a study done in Korea, so it's all over the world. It's not just in the United States. And the last thing was that marketing specialists will use women with lower BMIs for their marketing to get higher sales, which works for them because they're getting more sales, but then all these other young women are seeing that and wondering why there's never any bigger women or just normal women of all shapes and sizes. It's always the ones with the lowest BMI, so that really affects body image problems. The next one is self-esteem, and we have found that we compare our self-esteem to those of social influencers, and ours tends to be lower because when they post about being super happy and traveling and all that, and it never shows their hard times that they're going through. And then the second thing with this that we found was that women who are typically narcissistic will post a profile picture that's more revealing to kind of make up for that, and that also plays a big factor in our self-esteem.
According to a 2017 article by Simpson, there have been a lot of young women that have developed eating disorders due to a specific kind of post, specifically on Pinterest. They're known as fitspiration and thinspiration, which are a play on fit and thin and inspiration. So basically what they are a picture of a woman who is very fit, very thin, and then there's inspiring words over it, or there is a workout that they can do, and it implies that if they do that workout, they will look like the person in that picture. But the problem with that is the women in that picture, in those pictures, look like they are over-exercising and under-eating. And as a result of that, young women develop eating disorders because when they look at those pictures, they don't realize that those women are under-eating and over-exercising. They just see a person that doesn't look like them. They think that they look better and they want to get there. So then they develop eating disorders in order to look like those women. And then a similar article written in 2003 by Craig shows that a depiction of very fit, very thin young women in television ads have the result of the same thing as the thinspiration and fitspiration. And that's kind of interesting because that was in 2003, before Pinterest was a thing or before a lot of social media was developed. So again, this is not a new thing. It was our thing back in 2003 before social media was even big and popular. And that really shows that young women can't be exposed to things like that because they could develop eating disorders. And so what Craig said is the same thing. They developed eating disorders because they were dissatisfied with their bodies.
For our rationale, we took the population of Indiana State University, and then we split that in half because we were more interested with females rather than males, because females are more impacted by social media influencers. And then from that half, we took a certain percentage to figure out how many results we need for our survey in order for it to be an accurate count of how women truly feel about our topic. For our sampling and survey, we decided to do a non-probability convenience sample. We chose to do a convenience sample because with everything going on, it would have been very hard for us to go out and interact with all of these women because we're supposed to be staying inside. So we chose that it would be most convenient for us to send it out online through our phones to get our results. And we sent out a survey with 10 questions, and we did get 175 results back. And in that survey, we had a mix of Likert scale questions as well as multiple choice questions. So for example, we would send a question that said, how high is your self-esteem? And then it would say very poor, poor, neutral, high, and very high. And then for our multiple choice questions, we would send something out that said, how many hours a day do you spend on social media? And then it would have 0 to 2, 3 to 5, and like that. And that is how we made up our survey to get the best results. For our results of the survey, we found that 70% of women typically spend 2 to 5 hours on social media per day, and they're usually checking either 2 to 3 of the social media options in those 2 to 5 hours. We also found out that 24% of women have had an eating disorder, and of the eating disorders that there are, the most common that we found was anorexia.
So here are the rest of the survey results, and as you can see here, maybe the people that we took surveys from, the average amount of people they follow that are famous or social media influencers is between 0% and 15% of the people they follow. And then the next one down is a little over than 75% of the people we surveyed have a neutral or good self-esteem, so that's good. And then on the other hand, they have a neutral or poor body image, which is less than 75%, but still the majority are those results. And then an astounding amount of the people we surveyed do compare themselves to famous people, whether it's life, body, possessions, and they also compare themselves to peers. So we did conclude that social media has a negative effect on young women, and it's hard because young women kind of know that they compare themselves to others and that it affects them negatively, but they like social media. So stopping this issue is going to take a lot more work than just telling people to get off social media, because that's like a social thing people do now. We just use social media. So if we want to stop it, we really have to get together and do something bigger. And an idea to do in a later study is with maybe younger people or middle school age kids whenever they're in college, because whenever the people we surveyed, they weren't really born into social media. It kind of developed as they were growing up, but the kids in middle school were born into social media, so they had it right away. And I feel like there's going to be more of a negative effect on them than on college age students now. So that's an idea for another research study.